How you guys doing? This is Dale from Indie Review, and today we're going to be reviewing the Pyle 4-channel Bluetooth mixer. Let's get to the product review. How you all doing? It's Dale from Indie Reviews, and today I just wanted to show off my new podcast mixer that I got for my podcast. This isn't going to be a very in-depth review of the mixer itself. I will just kind of briefly explain some things on the mixer, and later on I'll actually explain who this mixer is for and why you would want to get one. So real quick, the mixer, this is the Pyle PMXU46BT, and of course the BT stands for Bluetooth. It is a Bluetooth mixer, meaning you can connect it to your phone, tablet, PC, computer if you wanted to listen to music, or maybe, if you're a live musician and you're at a set and you're setting up, you can actually use the Bluetooth mode on it to listen to music while you're setting up. Real quick, real briefly, I'm going to speak about, just go over some of the functionalities of the mixer, and then later on I'll actually go more into depth about why I got this mixer and why you would want to get one. So real quick, as you know, anyone new to mixers, a mixing board, I will say, let me start by saying this mixer board is not amplified. A lot of mixers come with an amplifier, meaning that you can use them to power speakers. This one is just a mixer, and if you use this specific mixer, you would have to have speakers that are already powered, just so for anyone that's interested. And usually whenever you buy a mixer that is powered, on the back end, somewhere, it'll usually say how many watts it is, just to let you know. If you have, let's say it may be 800 watts and you have two speakers that are like 300 watts, it lets you know so that you don't plug in speakers that may be 400 watts a piece, or maybe let's say 500 watts a piece, and which is 1,000 total if you're using two speakers, and then you use it and you end up damaging the mixer because you kind of overloaded it. So that's just kind of what I wanted to say. So right here, the left-hand side, you have channel 1, and it's right here with the 1. You have channel 2, you have channel 3, and you have channel 4, FX. The FX is really just your effects, like, your reverb, your echo, maybe your phaser. That's what those are for. And me, typically, because I bought this mixer for the purposes of using for my podcast, any kind of effect that I would add, I've never used any kind of effect on a podcast audio, but any effect that I would add to my podcast, I would probably just do that post-production on my DAW, which is a digital workstation. I use Studio One version 7. So I would just add that in the actual post-production, meaning that once I'm finished shooting my podcast and I'm going to edit the audio and I'm beginning to edit the audio, I would just do that there. I wouldn't use an effect, because one of the things I'll say is that when you use a plugin on a DAW, you have more control of the whatever effect you use. They usually give you absolute control how you want to use it, versus a mixer, you would have some control, but I don't think you'd have as much control as you would if you were using it on your computer. So channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and these are both you can be used for both microphones and a line, meaning that if you have a guitar or something or an instrument, you can also use that for those as well. These, of course, control the gain, meaning how much volume you give each individual channel. Again, right here on the mixer, it has the gain for the actual channel, and that's also another gain fader right here. Then these right here are just for high, mid, lows. This is just the EQ, a basic EQ, and the actual EQ for the mixer is right here. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see right here. You see? So if you wanted to do a more in-depth, if you wanted to have more control over the EQ, you can definitely do that. But me, for all my mixers, I usually always set them. You can see right here, I already have them set. So I have the highs a little towards the right, I have the mid in the middle, and I have the lows probably on 5, 6, because you usually don't need that much lows when you're doing audio. Lows usually refers to bass. If I'm doing audio versus or audio book, a podcast, or interview, I don't really need lows that much. And again, if I cut the lows off too much on the mixer, I can always do it in post-production in my DAW. So let's just kind of go over it right here. And right here, you have a mute button, and the mute, of course, mutes this channel. Go over right here. Right here, It's phantom power. Phantom power, it would be used for condenser microphones, but you also would have to use phantom power if you're using dynamic mic preamp. Like right here, I have a dynamic mic preamp. And what that does is, like I've said it before on many different of my reviews, dynamic microphones have a 50 negative, so it adds, this is 28 dB of gain. So this is like plus 28 dB of gain. And to show you a perspective real quick on the mixer. So right here on channel 3, the lowest dB or decibel you can go before you get to hearing the noise is 60. That's 60, okay? So most dynamic microphones start off at like 50. This is way down here, just to give you perspective. And most condenser microphones, of course, start off on 0 or positive. So what this does is, this gives, see right here, but it says plus 28. So that gives my microphone plus 28 dB of gain. This right here, of course, are the two masters on the mixer board right here, a right channel or the right speaker and the left speaker. Now, I will say, I don't intend on using a speaker with this mixer. I only bought it just to use with my camera. That's it, that I use. Well, one of the cameras that I use right now, I'm using the Hollyland Venus Live V2 to record this part of the footage. And both cameras, in my hand, I have the Hollyland Venus Live Air right here. And if I wanted, me and my wife, since we moved our podcast room, and we've been shooting on the cameras for the video part of our podcast, we've been using a lavalier mic. We haven't been able to use our podcast microphones because my podcast mixer is downstairs, but it's also connected to my computer, and I also use that as an audio interface as well. So if I disconnect it whenever I edit audio or video, I wouldn't be able to hear sound. So for the sake of that, I just said, well, you know what? We have lavalier microphones, which are wireless. Why not just use those? And right now, the lavalier microphone is plugged into my other camera, and I'll show you real quick right here. So my lavalier microphone, which is a Type-C, plugs in right here. This camera also, like the one I'm using to film this video with, it also takes a 3.5 millimeter jack. So let's say I wanted to be able to use microphones on my mixer right here. I have a cable, right and left. This would go into right here and right here. And by me doing that, it's gonna output any sound that goes through the mixer through this cable right here. And see right here, my camera, where it has that 3.5 millimeter jack right here. I just plug this right here. So boom. Now any sound coming from this mixer board, and of course I would connect my microphones right here that I'm gonna be using for my podcast, and boom, any sound that comes from this mixer now gets picked up on the camera. And it enables you to have a good source of audio. And now I'm going to actually explain to you why you would want to get this mixer. Please excuse my room. It's kind of messy. Yeah, this is my podcast shooting room. Behind me is the lounge. But I just want to show you real quick. Here's the mixer board. I just shot the video. Right here is the cord. You see right here is going to my camera. And it's going to my camera. I was able to use this microphone right here. You can see it's XLR, and it's on channel 1 right here. You can see. So I just want to show you real quick. Just want to show you the setup. And usually, if my wife was with me right now and we were doing a podcast, it would be 2 microphones, and the other one's actually right here in the corner. But yeah, I just want to show you guys. So I said that I would explain why you would want to get a mixer. A few months ago, me and my wife, we relocated our podcast. Where we shoot our podcast, we have a couch, just some gear. But most of our podcast setup was in my basement, where my desktop is at, where I have my studio set up downstairs, as far as my studio monitors, a screen where I edit videos and audio. For many of you guys who are familiar, with my channel and watch, my product reviews, I have a background in this recording as far as music. Then I got into podcasting, and I've also have edited church lectures, church sermons. So I have a background in audio, and from there I kind of transitioned from music or editing church sermons, and then from there I also got into to podcast editing. And so when we moved our podcast, we used to actually, when we started shooting our podcast on video, we were using webcams. So we actually needed our desktop to record the videos because it was going from the webcam, was recording on OBS. So once we got different cameras, we started off with the Tail Air, and now we use the Highland Venus Live Air and the Highland Venus V2. And those cameras, you actually don't need to plug them up to a desktop. You can if you want to, but you can just plug it in an SD card, and you're able to shoot a podcast like that without a desktop, which I would imagine how most professionals on a big scale do it. So when we moved from the basement where my studio is at to our upstairs room, which we turned into a theater room / podcast studio, I no longer had access to my mixer, and the mixer and our podcast mixer that we used to use is the Tascam Mixcast 4. It's a podcast mixer, and it has I would put it online with those like the Rode Podcaster mixer. And it has pads for you can add different sound effects, and it also has a screen. So what I love about it is part of it is an actual mixer with faders and stuff and knobs, and the other part of it is an actual digital screen where you could just put in an SD card in the actual mixer, and you could just record your podcast if you're doing just audio from that mixer. So I would use that mixer for our podcast audios when I use these mics, but when we moved our podcast location, I also use that podcast mixer for audio interface. And so if I move the podcast mixer, which also is a podcast mixer / interface, I wouldn't be able to use my recording studio. I only use to edit videos and audio, so I wouldn't have access to those to be able to use my studio monitors anymore. So that's just a long spiel. So in the process, we just use our lavalier mics. For the first part of the podcast, I just used our lavalier microphones, which is our wireless microphones, to do the audio part where I was showing you the mixer. Originally, I was gonna buy another podcast mixer, but when I went online, they were going for like $280 to $300 something used. Since I last bought one, it went up in price. I bought mine probably about 2 years ago. I got it for like $250, $220, $250 on eBay. I might have made a guy offer, and he sold it to me for, I know it's between $220 and $250, so I didn't pay no more than that. So when I went back to look for a mixer, about the same one that I have downstairs, and to put it in this room to be able to record, have the audio go to the camera, it was like $280 to like $300 plus. I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend that kind of money. I don't really need that podcast mixer with all the functionalities. Because really, when you buy a podcast mixer, you're actually paying for the functionalities of it. Like I could do phone calls, I could call somebody and have them on my podcast, call them on my phone, on my tablet. And so I just didn't want to do. I didn't need all of that. I just needed a way to be able to get the audio from these microphones onto the camera. And for that, a basic mixer, does that. Before I got into, or should I say, the guy that I interned with who does recording studio, had a recording studio. He also used to do a lot of live sound as well. He would set up microphones and stuff for bands and had his own mixer. So I learned how to deal with mixers from him. Now me, I DJed for years. I actually have the Rain 1 over here on my shelf. So with this mixer, it has 4 inputs, meaning 4 channels. So it's mainly just me and my wife on our podcast, so I could just have this mixer that really is more than what I need, because I was gonna get like a little small one, which again, it would have served my purposes very well. But I said, no, let me get this one, so if I actually want to use it, if I have DJ gigs, then I could do that. So that's why I bought this one. Brand new, it's like 2 something, but someone had it listed on eBay for like $115. I offered them $100. They accepted it, so I took it, and that's kind of been, kind of how I got this mixer that I have. Many of you guys that watch my channel know that I buy used gear. I buy pre-owned gear. If I can get something for a fraction of the price of it buying brand new, and it's in tip-top shape, for me it's a no-brainer. I'd rather just buy it pre-owned. I got my cameras pre-owned from B&H. So that's just kind of my spiel. And what I wanted to say was, people may ask the question, well, Dale, who is this mixer for, or who should get this mixer? And like I said, I mentioned that I do podcasts. Me and my wife, we have a podcast. I always leave the link to our podcast website on all my MD reviews videos. It's always in the description if you want to check it out. We talk about relationships and marriage from a healthy perspective. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I just wanted to mention that. So I got it for podcasting. Also got it if I wanted to DJ, gigs. I could also use it for that, because I would be able to plug in a microphone and be able to use the different inputs that I have. Because right now, whenever I do DJ, I just use my hook up my microphone onto the DJ controller that I have that has a microphone input. So you just plug up a microphone via XLR, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. So, and I wanted to say, I didn't want to spend $280 to $300+ for a podcast mixer when I'm not really going to utilize all the functionalities. In fact, I'm not going to utilize a fraction of the functions of the podcast mixer. Podcast mixers are like digital mixers / physical mixers. The Tascam mixer, and I'll put it up here above so you can actually see what it looks like. It's a phenomenal mixer. It's both digital in the sense that it has like a little built-in tablet, and you can kind of control it. It has like built-in EQs, noise silencer, all this good stuff. It has pads where you can put in sound effects like clapping or a crowd cheering. So it's a really great mixer. But for the purposes of why I needed a mixer, I wouldn't utilize something that's that extraordinary. So why pay that kind of money? I just needed something basic. I just needed something that I could plug in 2 microphones and be able to feed the audio from the microphones to my camera. And for that, a basic mixer is more than enough. Oftentimes, I think that people go out and they buy this lavish, expensive gear, and it's like, you don't need that. I remember back in the day, after I stopped doing music, I used to also edit podcasts for people, and people would always ask me, well, what gear should I buy, or what gear, in A, B, C, and D. And the first question I always ask people, well, what's your budget? And from there, we kind of go on from there. And so one of the things that I realized about people is that people always want to go out and buy the most flashiest, extraordinary gear. And it's like, you don't need that. You won't use half those features on that product. So why go out and get something, that costs that much money when you're not going to use half the stuff that's on it, And so, no, don't get me wrong. If you're someone that does podcasting and you want to be able to make phone calls and use the sound effects, that's fine. You're somebody that's going to utilize the functionalities of that mixer. So I would say for someone like that, I would definitely go out and get it. But for myself, I didn't utilize those functions. So there was no need for me to buy a mixer that cost that much money when all I needed it for was just to be able to get audio to a camera. And I'm like, I'll just get something simple for that. So, and I will say the reason why I got this mixer is because I did see a lot of mixers in my price range. I actually was looking on Marketplace, but people wanted like $100+ for a basic little small mixer, like probably this size. And I'm like, I'm not paying you $100 for something that size. So I just went ahead and got this one. I saw it for about $115. I offered the guy on eBay $100 for it. He took it. I was happy. He was happy. The deal was sealed. So this mixer is incredible. I play music through my phone on the mixer because it has a Bluetooth. And most of the time, I'll say whenever I do DJ gigs, I was doing it anyways. I would just plug up, but I had the Y cable and plug it into my phone with the 3.5 millimeter to Type C to my phone. So I was doing it anyway. So now I could just play the music without having to actually use the cable because this mixer has Bluetooth. So that's, to me, that is a win-win. I will say that if you're somebody that is interested in getting just a basic camera because you want to be able to, if you're someone that want to get a basic mixer because you just want to be able to get audio to a camera, I think this is a great mixer board for you. It doesn't cost too much if you get it used on eBay. I think Amazon actually has it right now on sale for like, I think $116, $120, which is still a good deal because the retail price of this is like $2 something. So $1 something is still good. And I think, oftentimes I see people on YouTube videos and they'll have like a podcast mixer or a roadcast. And I'm like, you don't need that mixer just for what you're using it for, which is to shoot YouTube videos. Now, again, does it look good in videos? Of course. I'm not even going to front. They look good in videos when you see a roadcaster or you see like the Tascam Mixcast 4. They look good. They look good. The knobs feel good. It feels good to be able to hit those buttons and have the crowd cheering or have have the different effects that you would want to use in a podcast. It feels great. But again, in order to save money, I didn't want to buy something like that. So again, If you're someone that you're a DJ, if you're a podcaster, or if you're a musician, I think this would be a great mixer for you. I do want to say that I've said it before. This mixer is not a mixer with a built-in amplifier. And usually you can, even if you're not into music or into like mixing boards, whatever, you can usually tell when a mixing board does not have an amplifier built into it because it's a lot smaller. Mixing boards that have an amplifier inside of them are very big and bulky. They're big and they're bulky because they have an amplifier also built into them. And I did a review a few months ago of a PA system. It was Pyle PA system that I bought for when I DJ gigs. It's like a PA system slash briefcase, and that PA system is also a mixer with an amplifier built into that mixer. And you can see from the video that I put up, I'll make sure I link it up above. That mixer is very bulky because it has an amplifier built into it, which just proves my point. Mixers that are just like this, that are small and light, they don't have an amplifier built into them. And someone may ask the question, well, Dale, why do I care if my mixer has an amplifier built into it? That's not something I care about. Yes and no. If you're doing podcasts and you're not really using speakers, yeah, you wouldn't care. But if you're somebody, if you're a musician or if you're a DJ, and what it is that some speakers have to have power in order to you to be able to play music into them. And sometimes nowadays, a lot of the speakers, even I've seen PA systems that come, they're powered speakers. So meaning that they have an amplifier built into each individual speaker. So if you got two speakers, both speakers have an amplifier individually built into that speaker. That's even a lot of Bluetooth speakers that people see, the big party speakers, they have an amplifier built into that speaker. That's why I was able to push the sound and have that bass. So again, definitely any reviews, please comment on the video, subscribe if you like my material. If you don't, that's fine, but just please like and comment. Even if you comment okay, even if you comment what, it definitely helps my channel. You can see it's a small channel. Do all you can to help me out. Us content creators or people who do product reviews, we don't ask for money and anything like that, but the views and the likes and the comments help our channel out more than you know. So again, definitely any reviews. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you for the support. Until next time, peace.